Hi, it's Dan from humidorguitars.com again, and what I wanted to talk to you today about is getting your string height set correctly. Sometimes after you've built your guitar and you got the neck on, you got the box all finished, and your bridge and nut are in, you go to string it up, and you look at it and your strings are really high. They may be so high that it makes the guitar not playable. What I want to talk about today is how to prevent that from happening as you're building, and how to fix it if it's happened and you didn't notice it, and now you've got a guitar with high action and you don't want to have to build another one. Not that building another one is necessarily bad. But before I do that, I want to explain a couple of terms that have to deal with string action. First thing I want to talk about is the break angle of the strings that are crossing either the bridge or the nut. In this case, I have a bridge here, and the angle of this string here crosses the bridge. This angle of this piece right here has to be steep enough that it puts sufficient downward pressure on the bridge so that the strings don't buzz and that you get good transfer of your vibrations from the strings into the lid and into your pickup. And you have a break angle that is for the bridge, and you will also have a break angle for the nut. In this case, I don't have as steep a break angle as I normally do, but in this case it doesn't buzz, so I wasn't too worried about it. Another thing you want to keep an eye on is when you put a neck on a box, you want the fingerboard to be high enough above the lid that you're not going to have a problem lowering your nut low enough to get a string action. And what I mean is, you notice here, this particular guitar does not have an add-on fingerboard, and the height of the fingerboard itself is maybe, I don't know, a couple of sixteenths, maybe an eighth of an inch above the lid of the box. I did that because I intended on playing the slide, so I wanted the strings to be a little bit higher. What you can do is, with my H. Upman, this is an add-on fingerboard. This is a 1x2 neck with a 1/4 inch thick red oak piece that I put on as a fingerboard. It's a full 1/4 of an inch above the top of the lid. This allows me to use a standard 1/4-20 bolt and nut for the bridge and still get a decent, nice low action. So when you're building, try not to make the fingerboard be flush with the lid of the box. You don't want it totally flush, or you're going to have a real hard time keeping the string action where you want it. A 1/4 inch is just a guideline. You can use whatever you want, but that's what I use, and it seems to work pretty well. You can go a little higher or a little lower. Like all the other videos, this is just the way I do it. It's just a guideline. If somebody else tells you to do it a different way, that may be good too. The second thing I want to talk about is the angle of the neck to the box. And what I mean by that is how far back this neck leans. Does the headstock go down this way? Does it lay back from the body? Most guitars have a couple of degrees of angle on it, where the neck, the headpiece, is actually down a couple of degrees. 2 to 3 degrees would be a good starting spot. The way I do it is the piece of wood that goes through the inside of the box. You'll notice that this is a through the body, through the neck bill here. If you take this piece right here and you make it a little bit thinner than this piece right here, the end result is that the neck will lay back down a little bit. So that's one way that you can do it. You can shave maybe 1/8 of an inch or so off of there. I would experiment a little bit before you screw up a perfectly good neck. But that will help keep your string action down. With this particular guitar, since it doesn't have an add-on fingerboard, I just put the nut on there, and if I didn't have something to hold the strings down, they would either just hover above the top of the nut and not even touch, or they would touch but they would buzz really bad every time I plucked a string. So I just have a plain old piece of flat aluminum that I cut, drill a couple holes in it, and I put the strings on there, and I just screw this down and it holds the strings against the nut. Works pretty good. They also have regular string trees, they call them. These are some store-bought ones here. These are just little buttons, and they've got a slot that runs on the bottom side of it. So this is my 4-string queen bee that I built. These are just little brass ones. They got a slot on the bottom. The string runs underneath them, and you just screw that right into the headstock, and it holds them down. And notice I've got a nice break angle going up here across the nut. So you can do that as well. There's a million different ways that you can hold them down. You can take a plain old sheet metal screw and screw it in there. Anything that holds the string down against the nut is going to be good. One thing you need to watch out for is if you have way too high an action and the strings are way up here, what will happen is every time you press down on a string, you only want it to travel so far before the string hits the fret. If it has to travel too far, you're actually stretching the string, and the note is going to go sharp on you. It's going to go too high. It's just going to be like if a regular guitarist, when they bend the string, that's the same thing that's going to happen. You're going to go to play a note, but you're actually going to get this instead, and you're not bending the string because the string is being bent too great of a distance. That's another reason for wanting to keep it down close. If you're playing slide, you don't worry about it because all you're doing is gliding the slide across the top, so you're not really pressing the string down to touch the fret. So what could happen is if you have your string height too high, as you go up the neck playing your notes, you're going to find that the notes are going sharper and sharper on you, and it actually could be considerable. And to top it all off, it's going to be hard to play. So one thing you can do is you get all done, you built your guitar, and now you're looking at your action, you're going, holy cow, well, the string's high. One thing you can do is say, I want to make even lower action on my Zombie Blues Guy guitar. One thing I can do is I could pull all the frets out, which is a lot of work, but I could do it. I could add a 1/4 inch fingerboard to it. That would raise the height of the fingerboard up and allow me to adjust the bridge a little bit so I could get a nice lower action. You can lower the size of your nut as long as you don't get down too low so that you don't get a buzzing noise. You can lower the height of your bridge. That's why it's nice to use different size bolts and nuts, because then you can just switch to a smaller diameter rod or bolt to lower the distance. So hopefully that helps you out. Again, as always, post comments, questions if you need further explanation, but hopefully that will help you get your string action down and make you happy with what you built, and keep that in mind next time you build another one. So, good building and good playing. Thanks for watching.